This lecture on interviewing offenders is informed by research written by Tom Holt and myself, in which we interviewed academic researchers who interview cybercrime offenders. The purpose of this research was to understand what worked and what didn't work when it came to interview methods with the offender underground population. We uncovered the problems that emerge in research and the precautions that researchers may need to take to protect themselves, their participants, and the research data. In this lecture, I will start by outlining reasons why you might consider interviewing offenders. I then delve into recruitment and ways of interviewing. The lecture will end by discussing research ethics. We asked participants why they interview cybercrime offenders. Unsurprisingly, all researchers believe that qualitative interviews are particularly valuable. Reasons for qualitatively interviewing cybercrime offenders were broadly classified as correcting misunderstandings, providing a deep understanding, identifying new lines of inquiry, accessing a hidden population, providing a voice, and perceiving quantitative approaches as being insufficient. Researchers also stated that the methods used should depend on the type of questions being posed, and qualitative interviews being particularly appropriate for exploratory research. There are different ways that researchers recruit participants. Cold recruitment involves contacting potential participants without an introduction. This can be done online, such as through online forums and email distribution lists, or offline, such as at hacker conferences or other events. Snowball sampling involves personal introductions through contacts and referrals from other participants. Some of the challenges involve building trust, particularly for online interactions. Offenders tend to be skeptical and wary of outsiders. Some are concerned the researcher may be from law enforcement or intelligence services. Another challenge is gaining access to the relevant population, which may be particularly challenging for more serious offenders. Researchers recommended building trust with potential participants by blending in with the environment and staying natural. They suggested researchers learn and understand the language being used, and they have a relevant online presence, such as a university webpage. Researchers should be honest and open about the research and demonstrate a willingness to learn. Researchers suggested it was important to avoid deceiving potential participants and using stereotypical definitions. They suggested researchers avoid showing ego and inappropriately claiming expertise. Trust is also multidirectional, and researchers should avoid situations that seem unsafe for themselves or others. It can also be beneficial to pay attention to the gatekeepers. When none of the researchers had used formal gatekeepers, such as law enforcement or prison staff, many had used informal gatekeepers who could pave their way, but these relationships can be difficult to foster. Researchers use three main ways of conducting interviews, namely in-person, online text, and online video or phone. In-person was generally preferred. The pros of this method included the ability to develop a good dynamic, breaking down barriers quicker and easier. Researchers believed in-person interviews tended to go on for longer and participants opened up more. Another advantage is that it takes participants out of the environment that they're used to, where manipulating information is the norm. On the flip side, in-person interviews can be more difficult to organise, particularly if the participant is not geographically close by. The advantages of online text interviews are that they place the interviewer in the environment the participant is used to, which may make them feel more comfortable. It reduces the cost and time required for travel. Furthermore, the text-based medium means there's no need to transcribe, therefore less time is needed to prepare for analysis, and there is less scope for introducing errors. The disadvantages are that cues can be missed, such as changes in facial expressions, body languages, silences, pauses, tone of voice that can impart meaning or signal avenues of inquiry. Some researchers were also concerned that participants may manipulate the conversation, such as multiple people posing as one participant, or one participant posing as multiple people. Video and phone interviews mimic those held in person, while still breaking down those geographical barriers. The voice of the participant can still be heard, and the video provides the non-verbal cues. One challenge was that they can be more difficult to schedule, as people tend to be more likely to keep in-person appointments, but might try and reschedule online ones. One of the most important ethical issues discussed was confidentiality and anonymity. Participants are at risk of being re-identified. Researchers took a number of steps to increase anonymity, such as de-identifying interviews while transcribing, only providing excerpts of transcripts to limit linkability, and avoiding the use of email or using throwaway email accounts to limit the amount of personal data held about participants. Some researchers noted that activist participants actually wanted to be identified, at least pseudonymously, as it increases their notoriety. Methods taken to increase data security include encrypting files and disks, locking disks in filing cabinets, and air-gapping computers. Researchers also deleted data when it was no longer necessary, particularly audio data after the interview had been transcribed. As the participants are involved in illicit activities, there is the possibility that law enforcement may request data. Some researchers had experienced this, the majority had not. Law enforcement had either asked for access to general information that may be of use to police, or targeted requests for data about a particular individual. In some cases, participants may raise issues that researchers have a moral or legal obligation to report. The legal obligation can differ by jurisdiction. Some researchers ask participants not to tell them of activities being planned or those that may have a serious impact. Another strategy taken by researchers is to only interview former offenders. Another ethical concern is researchers' safety. While none of the researchers reported ever feeling unsafe, they did take precautions. Generally, in-person interviews are held in public spaces. The researcher lets others know where they are going and when they are expected to return. Researchers should also consider limiting the amount of personal information they put in the public domain. Some researchers reported being on the receiving end of electronic pranks or attacks. These included denial of service attacks and being provided with a list of vulnerabilities on their university's network. Most participants did not provide incentives to participants, and those that had not done so for all projects. Some considerations were pragmatic, such as limited budget. Others were concerned that it could turn the process into a transaction, changing the dynamic between researcher and participant. There was also the possibility raised that it creates a gameable transaction, potentially leading to scamming. Some participants were reluctant to accept the incentives offered, and there were non-tangible benefits to providing a medium in which voices could be safely heard and access to published work.